Hey, what is up guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today I'm going to be showing you the new broken mid-hero that is so stupid. This hero is dumb. It's just straight up dumb. It wins most lanes. It has like the highest level 1 armor in the game. It's literally Ogre Magi. It has the highest movement speed, some of the highest movement speed in the entire game, and some of the highest base damage in the game. This hero is just straight up dumb. What is that hero? What is that hero? It was a 30% win rate hero 2 weeks ago. Now, Outworld Devourer is like a 52% win rate hero. This hero has somehow gained 22% win rate in the matter of a few weeks. Obviously, it got an insane amount of buffs, but I'm going to show you why this hero is free MMR right now. It's incredibly good, it's easy to play, and let's get into the video. By the way, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe. But in all seriousness, if you guys could click that like button and subscribe, it would mean the world. Videos have been doing great as of late, which I genuinely appreciate. Obviously, this is what I do for a living. So if you guys could click the like button, subscribe, and of course comment what video you'd like to see next. Whatever it is. Not hero, because that's not what this is, but video you'd like to see next, I'd be happy to hear. And let's get into it. And by the way, remember, a couple things before we hop into the gameplay. Get your game leaves up right now. Come on. Don't skip. I already saw some of you click the video with your thumb and you're ready to double tap, or you already double tapped. Well, if you already double tapped, you're not seeing this, but you get the point, right? Don't skip. Help your boy Speed. Alright, so starting it off with Odie, as you can see, 8 armor, 62 damage, and 325 movement speed. And by the way, this is with items that aren't to optimize damage, right? You can see Nisha, we're watching one of the best mid players in the world, if not the best. You can see his items aren't even optimized for right-clicking. They're optimized for getting a meteor hammer as fast as possible. Yeah, you heard that right. A meteor hammer. Now, why is Odie so good? Let's talk about the kit to start it off and talk about why this hero just makes sense in general. The first major thing they did is they made his Q cost 20% of your current mana. The key there is current mana. So if you have 10 mana, your Q will cost you 2 mana. Do you see why that is good? Because in the past, Odie had this big problem in the laning stage. If you wanted to use your Q, you would have to make sure you had a ton of points in Astral in your E already. Otherwise, it was completely unsustainable. Now, you take it at level 1, and every 4 seconds, you hit the opponent. Yes, this is literally what you do. Sometimes you can use it to secure creeps as well, but the primary idea is that you can see Nisha, every time he has his Q up, and it isn't extremely inconvenient, he'll hit the Pango. And you want to do this in basically every matchup, except for the really hard ones. Let's say you're against Alina and she's like staying really far back. You can just use the Q to secure melee and range creeps as well. It's a totally viable strategy. And yeah, like just right then and there, I mean, sure you can't use your W really anymore to secure creeps. After all, at level 1 it's only a 1.75 duration instead of 4. However, your heroes change. Instead of being a complete CS dominator by just denying creeps at the W, now you can actually zone people out of lane, and it's really good against heroes like Monkey King and Ember. You know, a lot of melee heroes, Odie is just incredibly good against. The next thing I'd like to discuss is his W and why it works in tangent with your Q. So how the W works now is, it used to just be an Astral, right? It was an AoE Astral. Now it's not AoE, so when it lands, it doesn't do damage to everything around it. It only does damage to the one target. You can see that there, it does not damage the creeps. So it's not nearly that good at farming. You might be saying, okay, so I'm not going to max it out, right? Wrong. The reason why this spell is still incredibly strong and should be spammed is because for 120 mana, you do 120 damage, which is a lot. You obviously can still use it to get denies in CS, that's totally viable. But most importantly, it steals mana. Yeah, so at level 1, for 30 seconds you get their mana. You get 16% of their mana, which is a lot. Now how does that work with your Q? Your Q does damage based on your mana pool, right? It does 16% of your mana pool's damage. And so essentially the key to playing Odie is very, very simple. In the laning stage, you spam your Q. Then, once you've gotten your E and your Q, you start maxing your Astral, and you use that on cooldown against your opponent, right? You use it off cooldown against your opponent. And by doing this, you give yourself an insane amount of mana that then you abuse with your Q. On top of that, in terms of items that you're buying, he bought 1 extra set of Tangos and a Ring of Health. Odie in the past had sustain issues, but with this new Meteor Hammer build that people are constantly going, you don't really have sustain issues, because you buy 1 set of Tangos, you buy this Ring of Health, and you're chilling. On top of that, the old Odie had mana problems if you didn't buy certain items. Now, as you can see, That's not really a problem. You have a little bit of mana problems with your W, but it's not the end of the world. It's really not. Yeah, and in terms of the laning stage, very easy. I talked about how you use your Q and your W. The last thing you need to do, besides spam your Q and your W, is just CS and deny. There's no reason to try to jungle because it's too slow. Like, you don't have any AoE damage at all. And I think a lot of people read this and they're like, oh, that makes OD trash. And yeah, when he first came back, like when they first changed him, it did make OD trash. He was unusable. So how do you fix that? You buy a Meteor Hammer. There's your wave clear, and that's the entire concept behind OD. That's it. It's that simple. Except it's that effective, and you'll see why. Alright, so the next thing let's talk about is how to actually increase efficiency on this hero. So, obviously in the early game, you're not a roamer, okay? You're not moving from side to side and, getting a ton of kills. Can we TP in for stuff? I mean, sure, if they're diving your tower, that's the case for every mid-hero. If they're diving, your team's tower, you can TP and clean up. It is what it is. But, for OD, that's not like your main purpose. Sure, you're pretty fast, 370 movement speed, but, you don't have any, great catch spells, okay? Astral is decent at best. So instead, what do? Well, if you're on Dire, here's a cool little strategy. You pull this camp, up to this camp, and you can actually Meteor Hammer both of them. Obviously, you have to hit that camp as well right then and there, right? So you drag this one out, hit this one last second, Meteor Hammer in between, and you get to Meteor Hammer 2 camps. It's extremely efficient, right? Really, really efficient for a kit that previously doesn't have any wave clear or AoE. And yeah, at this point, I'm not going to bore you guys to death. I'll move over to the minigame when he starts killing people, but literally, the strategy is just rinse, repeat. Shove lane, Meteor Hammer the lane, then Meteor Hammer the jungle. And you do this over and over and over again until you have a ton of items, and it works every time. So we're going to see our first rotation of the game, and it's a very simple one. Remember how I talked about the only time you really want to rotate as OD is when they're under your towers? Well, this is an exact example of that. Only rotate if they're under your tower. Right here, we see the Nyx go in. He hits a nice stun, and what is he going to do? He sees the Brew going for the split. Boom! Destroys him. Yeah, that's it. Don't be afraid to use your ulti. It does a lot of damage. If you're unsure of how it does damage, it does 200 flat magical, and then it also does damage based on your max mana difference. So, the amount of mana that you have compared to the opponent that you're ultiing, it does damage. Next up, in terms of skill build, you want to max out your Q, and then your E. It might seem like you're going to have mana problems, but no, you won't. And the reason I said before that that's the case is because even if you're 0 mana, you can still use your Q. That's how crazy this spell is, right? You can always use it, which means you can always have this, 30% chance to restore mana. And that's why maxing the Q is so good now, because literally, you just spam it when you're jungling. You actually rip through these camps with your Q here. You can see he can nearly one-shot the mud golems as well. And yeah, I want to make this very clear, guys. When you're playing OD and you're looking to master this hero, it's very important that you aren't just chasing people around the map. You're not Ember, you're not Void Spirit. Every single engagement he's took, it's either between his team setting up at a tower and him just kind of helping out and Meteor Hammering the tower, which I didn't show you, but that's one of the cases. And the other one is him TPing into fights, because otherwise you're gonna fall behind. You're not the setup hero, you're the cleanup hero, and make sure you look at yourself like that. Now, in this fight here, let's take a look at what he does. He's gonna blink in, Astral the Brew, prevent the ulti. This is something you can do against certain heroes to set up for your team. It can be a bit dangerous to lead with Astral, as often you will have to use this for defensive purposes, so a lot of the time I don't recommend you Astral right away, unless it's to either secure a key kill, or prevent someone like Brew from ultiing, which is obviously the case here. Then, yes, you can ulti people when they are in Astral. It will do the damage, and it can even kill them when they're in the Astral. Let's look at the next pop-off fight that Nisha has, where he goes absolutely insane. This is your major timing as mid-OD. Blink, BKB. Obviously, you want Wand and Treads as well. I'm not going to cover that. Take a neutral item, too. But other than that, your main timing, this Blink, BKB. You can go this build every game, and it's going to be good. Are there other builds? Yeah, but this one is very standard and very solid. And so, yeah, in this fight, let's talk about what he actually does. It's a very heads-up fight. I mean, this just goes to show, how far ahead the pros are when it comes to, thinking ahead and knowing what they need to do in the fights. But as this fight breaks out, he immediately hops in and actually astrals the Brew. He wants to make sure that this Brew cannot get the ulti off, or at least they delay the Brew ulti. Following that up, he's going to go on the Riki here. The Riki ends up getting silenced, and he pops his BKB to play it safe and burst the target. And as long as you get on top of a core, do pop your BKB and do secure that kill. OD is a hero that loves to just pick on, these agi carries, because they don't have a lot of mana, and Usually they block physical damage, but with Odie's pure damage, that's not a problem. And that's exactly what he does. He drops the ulti, and they kill the Riki. Sure, Brew gets the ulti off, but he delayed it, and because of him delaying it, they pick up the Riki kill. He's gonna two-shot the Grimstroke, puts this guy into the air as well. And by the way, you can actually time your Meteor Hammer out of the Astral. It's a bit hard. I don't have the exact timing. There's no way to perfectly time it. You just kind of have to have the feel. But yeah, they're gonna pick up the kill onto 9 as well. Look how much damage that did. It literally... That is their mid laner, by the way. That was like a third of his health. And yeah, that's going to be about all for today's video. A couple things I do want to say about Odie as well is make sure you have a couple stuns on your team. Obviously, this hero's main lacking is that he does not have disables. So having heroes like, Monkey King and Nyx and Prophet are quite convenient. It's not like the most stuns. It's not like Team Secret is like giga stuns this game, but in general, having another hero that can frontline, such as Nyx and Monkey King, is nice, and then having some wave clear is good as well. I really like Prophet with OD, like just that concept, only because I think OD does, even though you do buy this Meteor Hammer, your general wave shove is quite mediocre, especially with how your Q works now. It's not horrible, but it's mediocre, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, this game is gonna end just about there. Nothing too crazy happens. Team Secret kind of just runs them over. And this is largely how OD goes. This hero is incredibly good in these mid-game fights. And honestly, you're faster than ever. Right here, with the help of the Chen, he's running at 448 with no movement speed items besides boots. 448, that's really fast. Like, I know that might not sound like a big deal to you guys, but honestly, movement speed is a big deal, like in Dota. In general. So a hero like OD with no movement speed items having almost 450 movement speed is pretty insane. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and good luck winning with OD as he buys his Hex. Obviously when you get your Hex, you easily solo kill people. Look at this poor Rubik. 3-shot. That guy gets Astral as well. Boom. Oh my god. It is so dirty, dude. This OD hero is honestly so miserable to play against, because, when he gets his Hex, you're just dead. You're dead. He can just kill you. If he wants to kill you, he kills you. If he wants to ult you, you're dead. And, so yeah, I hope that video helps you guys have a clear picture on Odie, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! But yeah, that's gonna be about all, folks. Remember, click the link down below and subscribe to the Game Leap website where we have thousands of videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!